Chapter 1541. After a while, Olivia started to frown. "How is she?" Sean came forward and asked. Olivia withdrew her hand and said softly, "Madame Fordham is a little frail. It's probably because she sustained some injuries during childbirth in the past. Her condition can be improved over time. I know my condition won't get any better. I'll be content with however many days I have left." "Mom, please don't say that." Sean didn't want his mother to be so pessimistic. "All right, let's not talk about that anymore. I'm sure you're all hungry. Let's stop chatting here." Olivia held her hand. "Madame Fordham, this is such a beautiful place, but isn't it a little lonely if you're here by yourself all year long? I've always preferred peace and quiet. I've never been fond of hustle and bustle. Our family is very united. The younger ones visit me frequently, so I'm never lonely." Olivia nodded. "That's true. Sean has already recovered from his depression. He'll be able to stay by your side from now on." Sean looked at Olivia in surprise. They had only planned to come over for a meal. They didn't plan to stay. After spending time with Olivia, he felt she was very reliable. She had to have a reason for making such a suggestion. So, he didn't say anything. Shayna smiled. "That's wonderful. Sean was unwell for so many years. I'm still worried about him. I'll be very content if I can see him every day. I'll even be able to see you and your child." She ordered Nina to prepare the guest room. "Don't worry, Madame Fordham. Sean's legs can still be healed one day. Look at how successful your children are. You have to get well soon so that they don't have to worry about you." "Yeah, I know I should try my best to stay alive." "Watch out, Madame Fordham. There are some stairs here," Olivia reminded. Before they approached the steps, Olivia noticed a rope by the stairs with some bells attached. "How thoughtful. Miss Jacqueline probably prepared it, right? This was made by Garrett. He knows my eyesight is bad, and he doesn't want me to fall when I'm walking, so he put the bells by the stairs to remind me." Garrett Fordham was Sean's cousin. Avery had also mentioned him before. Some of the leads they uncovered were linked to him. Sean felt even more guilty. "I'm a failure of a son. My cousin takes better care of my mother than me. Silly boy, you know our family's situation. Avery is haunted by his kidney illness, Troy is focused on his designs, Vox is never home, and you have been fighting your own demons. Telling you all about my condition would only cause needless worry. Luckily, Jacqueline is a very good kid. She frequently comes over to visit me with Garrett. Besides, I have so many people tending to my needs. My life is already better than most people." It was clear that Shayna was a very gentle and elegant person. She didn't have the snobbishness of some rich people. That was why her children were all very outstanding. "Garrett comes over very frequently, too." Sean changed the subject. "That's right. He's a very mild-mannered person. I took care of him for some time when he was young, so he's very close to me. Your father has been very busy this year. Garrett knows I'm alone, so he visits me very often." Olivia and Sean looked at each other. It was clear they were more suspicious of Garrett. "Mom, why don't you invite Garrett over for dinner? I want to thank him in person." "I've already contacted him. He'll come over after work. Jacqueline will be coming over too. It's a pity that I can't get in contact with Vox, and Avery's not in the country at the moment. It'd be great if we could have a reunion." "Don't worry, Mom. We'll have a reunion sooner or later. Avery will recover. When we get better, we'll be able to lighten Dad's load. Then, he'll be able to come home to you when he's no longer so busy. That would be great." Chapter 1542. Shayna was still very frail. She would sleep a lot every day. After she went to bed, Sean took Olivia somewhere safe and asked, "Olivia, please tell me straight up. Did you find anything when you examined my mom just now?" Olivia nodded. "There are signs that indicate she's been poisoned. The damage to her eyes doesn't seem to be from excessive crying. My current diagnosis is that the poison damaged her retinas." Sean was furious. Who would dare to do such a thing? How dare they harm my mother? "Sean, the truth might be ugly. Think about it. The health examination reports for you and Madame Fordham were faked. This person has a lot of power in the family. What are you trying to say, Olivia? I suspect that the culprit is Before Olivia could finish her sentence, Nina rushed over and said, "Bad news, Mr. Sean. I received a call just now. Mr. Troy got in a traffic accident while on his way home. Miss Jacqueline has been hospitalized." "What?" Sean was about to stand up reflexively, but Olivia noticed that and held him down. "Miss Patch, what's going on? Troy's the one who got into an accident, so why is Jacqueline hospitalized?" "I didn't make myself clear. Miss Jacqueline met with Mr. Troy on his way back. So, she got in his car. Then, the accident happened." "How could this happen?" Sean had specifically warned Troy to be careful, but he still got in trouble. "I'll go check on them at the hospital. Dr. Fordham, please watch over my mother. I fear she might also." "Hold on." Olivia grabbed Sean's arm. "You have to keep your cool during times like this. I know, but Troy and Jacqueline are hurt right now. Our family can't afford to lose more people." It was very hard for people to remain rational when something horrible happened to their family. Even if Sean knew this accident could be another trap, he had no choice but to go. He couldn't just leave his family members alone in the hospital. Avery's not here, and Vox is not even picking up calls. "I'm the only one left in the family. They might need a family member to sign off on operations. Then, I'll go with." "No, you should stay here and watch over my mother." Sean thought about Shayna's poor eyesight and was worried she might be in danger. "In that case, you have to take more bodyguards with you." Nina was confused. It was just a trip to the hospital. Did they need to plan for it so seriously? "Don't worry, Dr. Fordham. The hospital is just nearby. It's also our family's private hospital. Nothing will happen to Mr. Sean there. Miss Patch, my mom is very dispirited right now. Please don't tell her about this. It might be too much for her to bear." "Understood, Mr. Sean. You should hurry to the hospital." Olivia watched as Sean was wheeled away. Before he left, she patted on his wheelchair and reminded him not to expose the fact that his legs were healed. This was a very important trump card for them. Olivia was still worried after Sean left, so she told Avery about this. She spaced out while she sat in the corridor. As she looked at the fish swimming in the water, she began to wonder if she was mistaken. Was Jacqueline not the culprit? She was caught in the accident too. Willow took some fish food and threw them into the pond. The fishes swam over and gobbled down the fish food. Olivia felt like she was no different from the fish in the pond. She was also at the mercy of the culprit. She had some leads, but all of them were dead ends. A man suddenly said, "Young lady, you can't overfeed the fish." Chapter 1543. A man was walking toward Olivia and Willow. He was wearing a white suit, looking very elegant and dignified. Olivia figured that he was probably Garrett Fordham. If you feed them too much, it'll give them upset stomachs. The fish food will also affect the water's quality. Everything is better in moderation. Doing too much would just cause more trouble. He seemed like he was talking about the fish, but he was actually warning Olivia to mind her own business. Olivia pulled Willow behind her and gave Garrett a polite smile. "Thanks for the reminder. She's too playful and didn't know about that." "You are. I'm Garrett Fordham. I heard that Sean brought a doctor friend home today. So, you must be Dr. Fordham. You're so young, but you were able to cure Sean. You're such a skilled doctor. You're too kind, Mr. Fordham." Sean's condition was caused by troubles of the heart. He was naturally able to fall asleep after those issues were resolved. "It's not because I'm a skilled doctor." Garrett took a good look at Olivia. "Doctors as young and humble as you are a rare breed. No wonder Sean treats you differently." Garrett noticed that the woman before him looked plain, and nothing really caught his eye. But she had an elegant demeanor and was able to meet his gaze without faltering. Her eyes were pretty, too. "I just did what I was supposed to do." Olivia didn't want to talk about this subject that much. Garrett scanned his surroundings. "Where's Sean?" Olivia looked into his eyes. If he was involved in this incident, it would mean he was playing dumb. "Mr. Garrett, you might not know this yet, but Mr. Troy and Miss Jacqueline got into a traffic accident on their way home. Mr. Sean has gone to the hospital. This is such an unfortunate turn of events. I don't know how Mr. Troy and Miss Jacqueline are doing now." "Really? How are Troy and Jacqueline? I don't know the specifics. We have to wait for news from the hospital. I hope both of them are safe. By the way, Mr. Garrett, Madame Fordham's condition has worsened. Her eyesight has gotten worse. Garrett asked with concern, how could this be? Haven't I been sending her eye drops? Hasn't she been using them? She has. You're very kind for doing that. But Madame Fordham has been overwhelmed by worry. She often stays up at night and cries. That's why her eyesight is getting worse. We have to keep news of the accident from her ears. She can't take another blow like this. Understood. I'll go talk to her now. Sure. Olivia took Willow's hand. I'll go with you. If Garrett was the culprit, then Shayna would be in danger. At this very moment, none of her kids were with Shayna, and most of the people here were housekeepers. The bodyguards were all away. Olivia felt uneasy. She had secretly ordered Vance and Vanta to look out for signs of danger and call the police as soon as they saw something was wrong. Willow noticed Olivia's anxiousness. She squeezed Olivia's hand lightly to reassure her. Shanna just woke up and was calling for Nina. Nina, where are you? Her vision was impaired, so she could only walk very slowly. Be careful, Aunt Shayna. Garrett rushed over and held Shayna's hand. You're here, Garrett. Shayna smiled gently at him. Yeah, I was held up at the office, so I was late. Are there still no signs of recovery for your eyes, Aunt Shayna? Chapter 1544. Shayna patted Garrett's arm. Garrett, I know you're concerned about me. You've gotten so many renowned doctors to look at me in the past 6 months. None of them were able to help much. My eyes are probably, don't be so pessimistic, Aunt Shayna. You'll definitely recover. Take a seat and drink some water. Shayna took the glass of water. Garrett, thanks for visiting me so often. I don't know what I'd do to pass the time without you. Aunt Shayna, I'm honored to be able to do that. You don't have to say that. I'm not worthy of such words. Olivia stood at the side as she observed their interaction. She wasn't sure if she was seeing things. While Garrett's words were a little suspicious, the emotions he displayed looked genuine. If he was pretending, then he was a great actor. After finishing her glass of water, Shayna noticed the silhouettes of Olivia and Willow. She waved at Olivia and said, "Come here, Dr. Fordham." Madame Fordham. Olivia stood next to her politely. "Take a seat and make yourself at home. We had a good talk just now. By the way, where's Sean?" Olivia didn't have the heart to give her the news, so she thought of an excuse. "He's resting in the room now. I'll keep you company." "That's good. Come walk with me. Let's wake him up when it's time for dinner. Let him sleep for now." Shayna radiated motherly love, but her face looked so young that Olivia felt a little awkward. She found it hard to see Shayna as a mother figure because she looked more like an older sister. Olivia took a good look at Shayna and realized she hadn't undergone any cosmetic surgery. Some rich women would get cosmetic surgery done to remain pretty. That type of beauty would never last. Olivia could spot signs of cosmetic surgery very easily. The Fordham family had gone through so much, and Shayna was worried about her family every day. Skincare products wouldn't be able to help her look young. She would only look older than the people her age and not the other way around. "All right, it's so pretty here. I'd like to take a look around." When she said that, Nina shot her a glance. She was clearly unhappy. Olivia wanted to hold Shayna's hand, but Nina stopped her and held Shayna's hand instead. "You don't have to do that, Dr. Fordham. Allow me." Olivia felt a little awkward as she withdrew her hand. Shayna couldn't see the expressions on their faces. So, she just continued to walk as she told Olivia about their surroundings. Olivia asked, "Madame Fordham, your skin looks so smooth. How do you keep it in this condition?" Shayna touched her own face. She hadn't seen it for some time. "Just those basic anti-aging skincare products. But the products I use are custom made by Garrett. So, that's why." Shayna smiled. "You'll have to talk to Garrett when it comes to skincare. He has developed several skincare brands. I heard that all of them sell very well. If you don't mind, I can examine your skin for you, Dr. Fordham. Then, I can custom make some products for you based on your condition." Garrett looked very mild-tempered and showed no signs of snobbishness despite his success. Olivia noticed that he had his eyes on Shayna the whole time. Every time Shayna walked up or down some stairs, he would instinctively lean forward. He seemed very concerned about Shayna. Was she wrong again? Emotions could be faked, but those tiny reflexive details couldn't. It was clear Garrett was worried about Shayna. It seemed like the situation was more complicated than Olivia had imagined. Chapter 1545. After a short stroll, Olivia gave an excuse to go to the toilet and called Sean. "What's the situation, Sean?" Sean's voice sounded anxious. "It's bad. When I got here, I heard that Troy's arms are seriously injured. As for Jacqueline, she's unconscious and covered in blood." Olivia frowned. His arm. But he's a designer. He'll lose his mind if his arms are disabled. Sean knew how it felt. His legs were crippled in the past, after all. "I've already asked someone to investigate the driver. It's the same story as before. The driver was driving under the influence of drugs. He's a single man who's also an addict. He overdosed before he started to drive, and he died at the police station after he was captured. There are no other leads. It's a dead end." Olivia could feel the rage Sean was trying to suppress. "Calm down, Sean. Why don't I go over and take a look? I might be able to save Troy's arms." "That's right. You're a great doctor. But my mother." Sean's brows remained furrowed in worry. "Madame Fordham is safe. I'll let my bodyguards and Willow stay with her." Sean didn't understand why Olivia would mention Willow. He figured it was because Willow was still a child and she shouldn't travel around too much. Although he didn't really want Olivia to leave Shayna, the situation was too dangerous. The culprit was still in the dark while they were completely exposed. They were at the culprit's mercy. Troy's arms were seriously injured as well. There wasn't any other choice. Olivia explained the situation to Willow after she hung up. Willow looked upset. She held Olivia's arm tightly. She didn't want to leave Olivia's side. "I'll be careful, Willow. Follow Vance and he'll keep you safe. I'll be back soon." Before she left, Olivia talked to Vance for a little while longer. As she was about to tell Shayna an excuse and leave, she overheard Nina talking to Shayna. "Madame Fordham, I don't think Dr. Fordham is a good person. She's unworthy of Mr. Sean. You've only met her for a short while. We shouldn't judge someone by their looks. No one but her was able to cure Sean. I feel like she's a very special person." "How special can she be?" "I think she's like all those other women. She's after the Fordham family's money. Besides, she's divorced and has a child. People will make fun of Mr. Sean if word gets out that he found such a woman to be his wife." Shayna was still smiling gently. "Everyone has a past, just like Sean. Dr. Fordham doesn't care that his legs are crippled. As long as Sean's happy and Dr. Fordham's a good woman, I don't mind if they get married." "Madame Fordham, you're too kind. Everyone looks like a good person to you. You have to be careful. I feel like she's a cunning person. That's why she managed to get Mr. Sean to bring her home." Willow was visibly upset when she heard all that. She was about to run out there, but Olivia held her hand and signaled for her to remain quiet. If that was the case, Olivia couldn't afford to leave. She wasn't sure if Nina was the culprit. What if something happened to Willow and Shayna after she left? The situation was a mess. She couldn't tell who the enemy truly was or what their next move was going to be. Willow was her daughter. Her safety was more important than anything else. Olivia told Sean what was going on. The sun was setting. They would be exposed if Sean didn't come home. Troy was still in the operating room, so Sean couldn't leave. He could only ask Olivia to find a way to stall for time. After a while, Shayna asked, "Where's Sean? Is he still sleeping?" "Nina, go check on why Troy and Jacqueline aren't home. Are they stuck in traffic?" Chapter 1546. Madame Fordham, something went wrong at Mr. Troy's art gallery. He called Miss Jacqueline and Mr. Sean over for help. Shayna was confused. I'd understand if he called Jacqueline for help, but why would Sean go? "Madame Fordham, it's because Mr. Troy designed a set of premium jewelry for Sean. He wants Sean to show off the jewelry while sitting in his wheelchair. He wants to prove to the world that even a crippled person can have a good life. He's also trying to encourage Sean. He's so considerate. I know this is his dream. He wants all of us to go to one of his shows while wearing the jewelry he designed. It's a pity that our family is currently in this broken state. Things will get better. Olivia patted Shayna's hand. In that case, let's wait for a while longer. Nina was troubled. They were still at the hospital, and she didn't know what condition they were in. Olivia said gently, Madam Fordham, let's not wait for them. Mr. Troy has high standards for his work. He might keep Sean with him for quite some time. That's true. You seem to know a lot about our family. Shayna finally noticed that. How could Olivia not know about the Fordhams? She read the intel on them several times. Olivia replied politely, yeah. I've been spending a lot of time with Sean lately. He told me all about his family. Nina cleared her throat. Dr. Fordham, your relationship with Mr. Sean isn't official yet. You seem to be very anxious. You're not part of the family yet. Nina, that's no way to talk to our guest. Madam Fordham, I'm just reminding her to know her place and not to think about getting to the top so easily. She's already acting like she's part of the Fordham family. Nina, I told you to stop talking like that. Shayna was angry. I'm sorry, Dr. Fordham. We didn't mean that. Nina, tell the kitchen to serve the food. Dr. Fordham has done a lot for our family. You shouldn't be rude to her. Nina glared at Olivia, but Olivia ignored her. Perhaps Nina thought Olivia was a heartless woman because she was unfazed by Troy's and Jacqueline's injuries. She started to be biased toward Olivia from that moment on. It's fine, Madam Fordham. I don't mind. It's getting late. The sun has already set. Let's start eating first. Olivia knew Shayna was really frail, so she was worried about her. All right, but please don't be offended. Troy has always put his work above everything else. We'll have a nice reunion dinner when his father comes home. Shayna took Olivia's hand and continued, don't listen to others. I don't mind your relationship with Sean, especially since he was the one who brought you here. Besides, I love children. My children used to be so much trouble. Although Willow can't talk, I can sense that she's a very obedient young lady. Madam Fordham, Shayna was really a very gentle soul. She made Olivia feel warm. Olivia was even more determined to take good care of her. But she was still worried because she wouldn't be able to keep Troy's and Jacqueline's conditions from Shayna much longer. Shayna would find out eventually. It was getting late. Olivia kept Shayna company the whole time because she didn't want Shayna's mind to wander and think about horrible stuff. Susie, for some reason, I feel like we're fated to meet. Although I can't see your face, I feel very close to you. It's like we've known each other for ages. Olivia was combing Shayna's hair. She noticed a few strands of white hair on Shayna's head. The two of them looked like a very loving pair of mother and daughter. Olivia even wondered if her mother would be as gentle as Shayna if she were still alive. Chapter 1547. Sean didn't come home. Instead, it was Avery who rushed home. He set everything aside and rushed home when he found out that his family was harmed. Shayna, who was about to fall asleep, quickly got up when she heard that Avery had returned. Avery is back. Slow down, Madam Fordham. Be careful not to fall over. Olivia quickly held Shayna steady. As she said that, they heard Avery knocking on the door. It's me, Mom. Come on in. Avery pushed open the door and exchanged glances with Olivia. She greeted him, Mr. Avery. You're here too, Dr. Fordham. That's right. Dr. Fordham is a very nice person. She's a friend that Sean brought home. I'm getting along very well with her. Shayna slowly caressed Avery's face. You've lost weight, Avery. Avery noticed something off. Shayna was acting like she was blind. He took a look at her eyes and noticed that they looked empty. They didn't look like normal eyes at all. Mom, what's wrong with your eyes? It's nothing. It's just that my eyesight is bad now. How have you been? Has your health improved? Avery felt a stab of pain in his heart. He didn't expect Shayna's condition to get worse when she was resting here. I'm fine. I haven't come home in a long time, so I came to visit you. It's getting late. Get some rest, Mom. All right. I feel more at ease with you at home. Madam Fordham, I won't disturb the two of you any further. Avery, Dr. Fordham is an important guest of ours. See to it that she gets the best hospitality we can give. Understood. Come with me, Dr. Fordham. Olivia followed Avery out the door. They went somewhere without anyone around. What's the situation now? Troy's arms are irreversibly damaged. What about Miss Jacqueline? Troy shielded her when the accident happened. He blocked all of the damage and the glass shards for her. She only got some scrapes. But Troy, hearing that alone was enough for Olivia to know how terrible the accident was. The atmosphere was a little gloomy. Olivia didn't know how to comfort Avery. Avery, that isn't the worst news yet. You have to calm down. Sean isn't the only one who was poisoned. Madame Fordham is also poisoned. Her eyesight didn't deteriorate because of excessive crying. It's because she's been poisoned. Avery's expression changed drastically. Is it Garrett's doing? Troy and Jacqueline are both hurt now, and he's the only one who visits Mom regularly. He's the most likely suspect. Olivia grabbed Avery, who was about to lose his cool completely. I haven't gotten to know him much. Although I don't know his personality, I don't think he'd hurt Madame Fordham. He looked concerned every time he looked at Madame Fordham. Avery was dejected. He spent so much effort investigating, but he still failed to stop the enemy's ploy. He sat on the stairs with a defeated expression. It was like the Fordham family was entangled in a web in the darkness. Avery blamed himself for realizing it too late. He thought everything was just an accident, so he let his guard down. He lost a sibling, and his mother even lost her eyesight. Who is it? Who could it be? Avery muttered dejectedly. Avery, can you get me samples of the drugs that Madame Fordham takes on a daily basis? Oh, and samples of her skincare products as well. I want to find out how she was poisoned. I examined her today. Her eyes still react to light, so she's not completely blind yet. There's still time to cure her. But first, we have to ensure she doesn't get poisoned anymore. I suspect that the culprit has control over the entire hospital. That's why you've been getting forged results. You need to get someone you trust to manage the hospital. Lastly, I can go to the hospital and check on Troy's injury. I might be able to help him. Chapter 1548. Olivia was no longer the young woman who would panic during a crisis. She made plans very rationally. Since Avery was home, she could go to the hospital. Troy's surgery had just finished in the hospital, and he was still unconscious. When Olivia arrived, Sean was still by his side, looking at him worriedly. If Troy found out that his arms were completely ruined and he could no longer design jewelry, he would definitely be devastated. His arms were very important to him. I'm sorry, Sean. It's all my fault. This wouldn't have happened if Troy hadn't tried to save me. Jacqueline was standing next to Sean. There were 2 tiny wounds on her face that were covered up by band-aids. She stood next to Sean with a sad expression. It's not your fault. I'm just glad you're fine. Our family can't bear any more accidents. You're here, Dr. Fordham. Olivia walked over with a grave expression. Is Mr. Troy still unconscious? The doctor said he'll regain consciousness soon. Sean sighed. Olivia looked at that pale face. She thought about the grand show Troy was about to have. His hands getting injured at this point in time meant all his hard work would go down the drain. After a while, Troy regained consciousness. He thought he was still at the scene of the accident. So, he shouted, Jacqueline, Jacqueline. Jacqueline rushed over with tears in her eyes. I'm here, Troy. I'm here. Troy sighed in relief when he saw that Jacqueline was unharmed. I'm so glad you're okay. He reflexively wanted to raise his hand to pat Jacqueline on the head but realized he could not move his hands. He strained himself so hard that he started to sweat, but nothing changed. He looked at his hands and muttered, What happened to my hands? I'm sorry, Troy. It's all my fault. Your arms are seriously injured. You won't be able to lift them up anymore. Jacqueline slapped herself. If you hadn't protected me, your arms wouldn't have been injured. I wish I could chop my hands off and give them to you. Troy ignored her cries. He was still stunned by the fact that his arms were useless. He almost forgot to breathe. He turned stiffly to look at Sean. Sean, tell me, what happened to my arms? Troy, get some rest. I'll find the best doctors for you. Your arms will definitely get better. His legs were a prime example. There was still hope for Troy's arms. I'm disabled. I'm worthless now, Troy repeated over and over. His eyes were wide open with a terrifying expression. Troy, modern medicine has advanced a lot. Don't overthink it. Things will get better as long as you're still alive. Get better. Sean, your legs have been crippled for so long. Have you gotten better? Why did it have to be my arms? Why my arms? Sean saw how much Troy was suffering and had the urge to tell him that his legs had recovered. Olivia pressed down on his shoulders to stop him from doing it. Mr. Troy, this is just temporary. You have to have faith. Troy was staring at the ceiling blankly. After the extreme grief he felt, he went silent. He wasn't calm. He had just lost all hope. He had seen how worked up Sean was when he was crippled. Then, he became depressed because there was nothing he could do. Back then, he could still offer words for Sean. But when the same thing happened to him, he understood how devastating it was. His gaze darkened. There's no more future for me. Chapter 1549. Olivia had said the exact same thing plenty of times before. Back then, her life was full of despair, and there didn't seem to be any light at the end of the tunnel. She fought tooth and nail and was beaten and battered. Often, she felt like she didn't have a future as well. But she didn't want to give up. She didn't want the same for her children. So, she toughed it out. She didn't say anything as she went to the toilet to run a towel under the tap. When she came out of the toilet, she saw Troy looking at the ceiling and bawling his eyes out. He couldn't even use his hands to hide his tears. Don't cry, Troy. Things will get better, really. It's all my fault, Troy. I'm the reason you can't complete the piece you've been working on. I'm the reason your show will be cancelled. Olivia didn't say anything as she placed the warm towel on Troy's eyes. Troy wasn't in the mood to listen to anyone. He just wanted to conceal his weakness. The tears made the towel wet, but they didn't flow down his cheeks. The others couldn't see how helpless he was. He said hoarsely, "Thanks." Olivia said, "It's getting late." Miss Jacqueline was also in the accident, so she must still be in shock. "I'll stay here. Both of you get some rest." "How could we?" "You." Olivia cut them off. "I'm a doctor. I can take better care of Mr. Troy than you two. Besides, he's not in the mood to talk. Let him get some peace and quiet." Sean sighed. "All right. Sorry for the trouble." Olivia closed the door. Then, she heard sobbing from the bed. "You should leave too. I just want to be alone. Mr. Troy, I know how you feel. I said the same things to Sean when he got into an accident. Only now do I know how stupid I was. No one can know how other people feel. Dr. Fordham, thank you for your concern, but I'm really sad. I'm down in the dumps, and I'm afraid I'll lose my cool if you stay here any longer. What if I tell you I can heal you? Stop joking. If you could heal me, you would have already healed Sean's legs. Don't say. He's just fooling you all. When we left on the trip, I brought him to a place for surgery. His legs aren't completely healed yet, but he can already walk without any issues." "What?" Olivia took the towel off his eyes. "Now can we talk?" Troy had a weird feeling as he met Olivia's calm gaze. It was like he had seen her before. "Who are you?" "That's not important right now. All you need to know is that I'm here to help you and the Fordham family. I have something I have to ask you, Mr. Troy. Tell me what happened during the accident, especially how Miss Jacqueline reacted." Olivia wouldn't be suspicious of Jacqueline if she was heavily injured as well. But Troy was bedridden, while Jacqueline only sustained minor injuries. What if the culprit was just working for her because she controlled everything? Maybe she was afraid that Avery's investigation would be directed at her, so she pulled something like this. But she didn't want to get hurt, so Troy was her scapegoat. This move would help remove any suspicion that was on her, and it could also hurt Troy. If she was really the one behind this, she would be a very vicious person. Chapter 1550. Troy didn't understand why Olivia was asking about Jacqueline's reaction, but he still recounted the events in detail. "As you know, I couldn't exactly leave Jacqueline to fend for herself in a situation like that. So, I shielded her. Is there any problem with that?" Olivia didn't have the heart to tell him the cold, hard truth yet. She needed more evidence. After all, these Fordham brothers loved their sister a lot. They were naturally biased. Of course not. You're a good brother. I just want to know what happened. Anyway, you need to calm down. I healed Sean's legs, so your arms are not a problem. Really? Do you think I'd lie to you right now? But why didn't Sean tell us his legs have recovered? Olivia whispered, it's because there's a person who's trying to destroy the Fordham family. You mean? Then, Olivia told him the plan. I'm sorry, Mr. Troy. You were one of the suspects too. That's why I didn't tell you, and that's probably why you got into such trouble. Troy was stunned. It took him a lot of time to absorb the information Olivia was sharing with him. He was completely dazed. He had been focused on his designs all the time. Even as he lay on the bed, the thought of his family plotting against him never even crossed his mind. No wonder Avery told me to bring more bodyguards when I go out. I thought he was just being paranoid. So, he was actually afraid that something would happen to me. I finally understand now, but it's too late. Dr. Fordham, who do you think the person behind all of this could be? I wasn't sure before this, but this incident has given me some leads. Mr. Troy, I shared this secret with you so that you wouldn't give up on hope. The Fordham family is under siege. It's not just you and your siblings. Even Madame Fordham is being dragged into this. Someone wants to destroy your family. You have to be on guard from now on. I'm guessing that whoever is behind this is planning to end things once and for all soon. Troy wasn't dumb. He understood it wasn't the time for tears. Understood. Just tell me how I can help. You don't need to do anything yet. Just don't expose yourself. The mastermind will show up soon. Olivia comforted him for a little while longer before she left. There was no longer any despair in Troy's eyes. Instead, they were filled with hatred. Hatred was enough to keep him going. After she closed the door, Jacqueline approached her with a worried expression. Dr. Fordham, how's Troy? Olivia shook her head. He hurt his arms, which are extremely important to him. It won't be easy for him to get over it. He's very mentally weak right now. You and the rest of his family have to keep him company. All right. Thanks, Dr. Fordham. You don't have to thank me. I'll go check on Sean. He was quite shaken too. Sure, I'll keep Troy company tonight. Olivia left. Sean was in a horrible state. He kept slapping his face, but Olivia stopped him. It's not your fault. Don't do this. Sean wanted to say something, but Olivia gave him a look. Then, she took his hand and said with concern, "Don't be sad." She sighed. Then, she leaned into his ear and said, "Someone's watching us." She sensed that when she met Jacqueline. Sean immediately reacted and pulled Olivia into his embrace. The enemy was making their move.